Om Shanti. Welcome to today's episode of Masters of Change. The first step towards change is awareness. The second step towards change is acceptance. Accepting change makes it a lot easier for us to go through that process of change, and it makes the biggest of situations look as opportunities to grow. And to help us set that perspective, today we have with us Brother Vijay from Trinidad. Welcome, brother.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
It is a pleasure. Why don't you tell us by how your journey started and why did you feel that there was a need of spirituality in your life?
I became involved in spirituality with the Brahma Kumaris at about age 22. And around that time, at age 22, I think I have just started to leave the comfort of belonging to my own family. I mean, I was quite happy there. But then you want to venture into life a bit, get into society, find something to belong to, find a group to work with, be somebody, look for your own space, your own identity. So I think I just started to move out from the comfort of home.
Correct.
And look for different things. And so that is how I got involved and encountered different spiritual groups. In fact, I had looked at several spiritual groups. The Hare Krishna was my best second choice.
Okay.
I really liked them, but I found it difficult to get involved in the dance and the excitement of that type of spirituality.
Were you religious?
We came from a Hindu family, so religion was our only culture, so to speak. The excitement of life was all due to religious practices, Diwali, Holi, Bhaiya Dooj, whatever spiritual occasions there were, weddings, prayers and pujas at people's home and communities.
Correct.
That was our community.
You believed
life.
in God?
I think so. I believed in God. I was born into it. It was assumed that there was a God, and we were involved in so much. Ramayana was quite popular in our community.
Correct.
So,
but you had no experience of God?
I think that was the main issue. I even read several books, and the autobiography of a yogi was a very popular book at my time. Lopsam Rampa was something my uncle read a lot, and so we sneaked into his book collection and would read those type of books. But yes, I did not feel I had any experience of my own. I think that was the major issue.
Yeah, correct. So what made you hold on to Brahma Kumaris and that other spiritual groups couldn't do?
Well, the Brahma Kumaris were free. Everything they gave was free. And at 22, you have no money but a lot of time. That was one thing. The other thing is, in the Brahma Kumaris center, they put a white sheet on the ground. And in my center in Trinidad, the teacher at the time was Sister Mira, who is now in Malaysia. And she put a thin sponge on the ground, which I did not know at that time. And she spread a white sheet, and every day I come in, that sheet would be perfectly white and without a crease, without a wrinkle. I was amazed that she can keep this sheet so clean. And it was little things like that attracted me. Of course, being from Trinidad, the fact that she was from India was also an attraction. And it was the reason why my parents allowed me free access to go to visit the center. And so I stayed because I could go there, and my parents had no objection. And within that Brahma Kumari center, the sister involved us in lots of stuff. So going here, going to serve in some other places, doing cultural programs, doing dramas, doing on-stage stuff. It was all new and exciting. So that's why I stayed.
Oh, amazing. So your family was okay with it, that you were getting yourself involved with the organization?
They were okay for a while until there was objection from my school. At 22, I had just found a job with the Mahasabha in Trinidad. They managed several schools, maybe 20 or 30. And it was a job that they gave me because my parents was of Hindu background, and therefore they accepted my application to teach at the primary level in their schools. But later on, when they discovered I had gotten involved in Brahma Kumari activities, they were not happy.
Your family or
the Mahasabha?
Why?
Because they felt that the Brahma Kumaris were not teaching traditional Hinduism. The Brahma Kumaris spoke about celibacy openly. I mean, the Mahasabha also spoke about celibacy, but they did not advocate it. And they took objection to that. And of course, the Brahma Kumaris spoke about a 5,000-year cycle. In Hinduism, there is a cycle that is so long, hundreds of thousands of years. I think the Iron Age, they said there's 40,000 years left. So there were significant differences in the philosophy.
Correct.
And so they felt that this was not proper for them.
So now you were stuck in taking a choice. So what choice did you take then?
Eventually I left the Mahasabha because the Brahma Kumaris, I got into it naturally, and the experiences were more, and a lot of friendships in the Brahma Kumaris, and especially when I started to travel. I came to India. Actually, before I made this final decision, I came to India. It was a big trip for me to make. My parents were quite concerned, but I did it anyway. And so in coming to India, it changed my whole perception. I came to India to find out whether it is true. I mean, the concepts in the Brahma Kumaris, the one that they said God has come, I thought that was really strange. And I remembered when the sister told me that, I went back home and I checked the newspaper and I checked the television news station to find out if there's any report that God has come. And there was nothing. So I thought these sisters must be really, a little cuckoo, crazy, but they served nice toli. And that toli, that sweet, was an attraction that went beyond whether God had come or not. So I stayed with them. But when that issue came up with the Mahasabha, and I had to make a decision, I decided I really had to go to India to see whether it is real, whether there's any experiences in it for me. And so, having come to India and having made that decision, I went back and left the Mahasabha.
So the Toli played a major role, and those clean sheets.
I would say so.
Also.
I would say so, yes.
Okay. So how did your experience grow from there when you came to India and explored more into this field, more into the organization, into your experience? Your experiences might have grown.
Yes, in India, I mean, Madhuban, Pandav Bhavan was the place. There were so many people. It was a whole exciting thing for me as a young person. The first time I had ever traveled, ever met people from outside of my country or my community. And this was very exciting and new for me, all new. I had great fun, a lot of fun. But I would say a few days before my departure date, I really remembered what I had come for. And so I went to Baba's room and I sat there in Baba's room, in the meditation room, and I spoke to God as if he was a real person. There's a picture there of Brahma Baba, and I told him, look, I have come to find out if you are real, and if you are real, you should say so, because now I am leaving and, I have to make a decision. So you need to say something.
Very honest.
Yeah, because I did not think I could meditate. I didn't really meditate as such. I was just enjoying life. And I sat in that room, I would say, for a long time, because I had nothing else to do but to make this decision. And I would say at some point I realized that I was not aware of the body, and so I became a little confused. I couldn't tell whether I was awake or asleep, whether I was dreaming or not, because the meditation room became a very intense experience, you can say. I was just feeling the energy of Baba from the picture. I didn't feel, I could no longer identify the sense of my body. And I think I felt I existed somewhere in the center of the forehead, just as energy, but I no longer was able to hold a sense of my masculinity or my maleness or even the physicalness. And so I looked around, there was nobody in the room, so there was no way to gauge. So I decided I should come out of the room, and I got up and walked out. And so as I walked out, I could not feel my feet. I walked out, and when I came out of the room, someone passed by, and I felt that person as energy rather than seeing the person. I'm aware of the form, but I am more conscious of the person's energy from the center of the forehead as a kind of radiating power, a radiating source of power. And so then that happened with a few people. Then I walked up to the dining room.
So it stayed with you for a while.
It stayed for a while.
Disappear.
It stayed. What made it fall, what made that energy come down was talking. As soon as I began a conversation and focused on the person and the conversation, that experience started to fall, like it lowered. And I became more and more conscious of the normality of the situation.
So you were very much aware. If people are not aware, they'll not even feel this much. So I think to have this experience, you have to be a lot aware, which you were. And so you could experience, I think you experienced an out-of-body experience. What I can gauge.
So it was the first thing that happened to me that I felt was strong enough for me to call an experience.
Correct.
Before that, I would sit to meditate, I would become quiet, I would become silent, but I did not think those were experiences. What happened to me there was something outside of my control, something beyond what I had thought of. I had not created it myself.
Was that an answer of the question you asked in the room?
I felt it was an answer. It was the first, dramatic thing that happened to me that was significant in my life, in my whole life. And so I felt it was enough of an answer to stick with the Brahma Kumaris.
Correct. You mentioned celibacy. Was that ever a hurdle for you, or was it easy to follow that?
It was a significant hurdle. When I came into Gyan, I would say the first 10 years, it was quite easy. I was young, but very innocent as far as boyfriend-girlfriend relationships were concerned. But after about 10 years, it became a significant issue.
Oh, after 10 years it became...
After 10 years in Gyan.
Okay.
Because although I was in Gyan, I somehow, the hormones or the feelings for having some type of relationship with the opposite sex started to emerge. I started to notice that girls are quite interesting, for example. And so that became a significant issue and a significant struggle that lasted for many years.
How did you deal with that?
I took a lot of support from the family of the Brahma Kumaris. I mean, the brothers and sisters. I attended the Murli every day. I think that was the single most important support, attending the Murli every day.
Murli, the spiritual knowledge.
Yes, and just hearing and hearing. And I believed in celibacy. I believed by that time in the principles of the Brahma Kumaris. I couldn't prove everything, but I believed in it. But that didn't mean I could practice it. And so there was that struggle that went on for many years to be celibate, to be not attached, to be connected to God more. But the weakness of the flesh, as you might call it, or the presence of a physical person always seemed to beat the presence of God, which was a subtle energy. It's only when I meditated I really enjoyed the presence of God. And then in the physical life, I tend to enjoy more the presence of people and the excitement of people. And so that was where the conflict of celibacy as against spirituality, you might say,
correct,
lay.
So time supported you. With time, whatever you were feeling, it went down, or did something?
I think it went up before it went down. And so there was a lot of, what you might say, very difficult struggles. This is all personal, you know.
Correct.
It is not it did not happen external. It was all personal. It was
correct.
The struggle with trying not to be attached, the struggle with not to pay attention, the struggle with who am I and what am I. It created lots of complication. There was a lot of comparison of myself with other people.
Now when you look back at it, the struggle that you had, is there anything different that you could have done to lower that struggle or to manage it in less time than you actually did?
If I had, yes, I would think in looking back that the principles that we got in the Murlis, the methods to practice were the best, exactly, if you could practice them exactly. And the fact that I could not practice them fully and exactly, I think is what caused the struggle to be a long time. But I am not sure whether it could have changed, because your power is that amount. I mean that if we sit in meditation, there's only so much concentration I have of my own.
Correct.
But I think maybe I could have taken more help from the family, like I could have spent more time within the BK fold.
Yeah.
I could have Yeah, I think that probably would be the single thing I could have done better.
Yeah.
I could have also tried to hold to a more strict personal routine. The personal routine, I think, is the single biggest thing for growth, for personal growth, spiritual or not. A personal routine is really essential, the way you do things every day. Because I think transformation or self-improvement is a slow process, small steps which must be founded on a routine that happens every day, no matter what are the storms that come. But every day you start and you keep on that journey. And the Brahma Kumaris, it's the perfect system. Study every day. I think that is really essential. To me, in my experiences, transformation took place at two levels. It took place with experience. Like you did something and you feel the love of the gathering, or you feel the spirituality of sitting in a group in which everybody is meditating. That created a kind of inner motivation and transformation. At the second level, it had to be with knowledge, having to convince myself what is true and what is not true, and keep talking to the self. So slowly the sense of truth and the sense of who I am strengthened. And so that came from listening to the Muralis every day. And there were times when the Muralis sound repetitive, like I have heard that before, like soul conscious. Okay, what is that? Okay, you be soul conscious, I have heard it. But if you stay with the routine, as I did more to the latter part of my spiritual life than the earlier part, once you stay with the routine, the experience changed, and then the statement had a different meaning. Experiences, so it was almost like climbing a ladder. You got the knowledge and a little experience, and then you review the knowledge and a little experience. And those two, that combination, and made the understanding grow. It's almost as if some transformation is happening within the being via the intellect or via experience, one or the other.
Correct. Why don't you take us through how this experiences and how spiritual life helped you with your work life?
Yeah, so I had already started to work, of course, when I left the Mahasabha, that was my official job. Then I moved into private work. Fortunately, my family was already involved in business. My parents, they sold vegetables in the vegetable market. And so I participated with them. And therefore, we had a little bit of knowledge. And so, having left the Mahasabha, I ventured into some private business ventures connected to my brothers and whatever was happening in our community. Eventually, I settled into the family business, which was the sale of peas and beans and potatoes and things like that. We started small, like we would buy within the local community and then sell it to other people in the retail market. And then one of my brothers worked with one of my aunts, and they bought in the local market and then sell it to small shops and groceries.
Right.
And then from that, we eventually had a warehouse, and we imported from outside the country, repackaged into 1 pound packages, red beans, dal, chawal, everything like that, and sold to the groceries. Then we eventually put a brand on the product. And so like that, we got into a family business.
Correct. So how did your spirituality, if you can tell us, how did it help you? And if you can compare people around you from your family or those who are not into spirituality, and how did they react to situations, and how did you used to react? Was it different?
It was different. I think my mom, she headed the business with the support of all of us. And from her, I observed that she was more concerned to please people, to bring benefit to people than the business. She enjoyed the business, but I think she enjoyed being of service to her community. When my brother got into the business, it was to make money. And so I looked at both angles, and of course, when I got into the business, it was to make money. I wanted to become rich because it seemed to be a good goal in life, to become rich. So I was trying to also become rich. But with the influence of the Brahma Kumaris and the meditation study, I began to realize that being good is more important than being rich. And so when I used to go to the meditation class, I wasn't very good at meditation. So in the Murli class, I think my mind became more silent. And sitting in the Murli class, I would every now and again got some good ideas to apply in the business. And so I began to value silence, being quiet, being silent, being in the meditation center or being in the Murli class to get good ideas to support the business.
Correct.
And so slowly that worked and that developed. And then as I grew older in the business and had more influence in our family business, I began to shift our focus to being good rather than being rich. Because I believe in the long run, the customer, the people, they appreciated honesty and they appreciated integrity. And people became your customers because they appreciated you, not so much the product. In the beginning, it might be the product that you have the best product, but to have a continued relationship, they have to appreciate you, the person. And what you bring or what the person brings is a sense of integrity, honesty, straightforwardness, because those things ease the way business is done. So if the customer is dealing with someone who he feels have integrity, he is more relaxed and he doesn't have to pay so much attention to all issues. He can ask you the price and he knows that based on past experience, you would give the best price or that whatever product you're selling. He doesn't have to ask too many questions and and be always conscious and alert. I think that's the value that we as the individual can bring to the customer by holding a sense of trust.
Correct.
Trust is really big in business. It facilitates business and makes it cheaper to do business.
Very right. And people think when you become too spiritual or when you start to meditate a lot, your drive towards work reduces, you become less ambitious in life, and they think that you become more relaxed and calm. So is that true? Did that ever happen to you?
It is not really true. We can say it is true in the fact that you should become more relaxed. You do become more relaxed. Your drive to get rich reduces because you attain greater experience in the communication with people. But your drive to be of value increases. So in one way to get rich decreases, but in another way to be of service, to be of use, to be of value to the community, that increases. So that overall, I think you have more energy and more drive.
Yeah.
And I think spiritual people have richer lives because their lives is communicated. Their lives is based on making other people content and happy and bringing value to other people's lives. And I think that it creates a sense of usefulness, a sense of well-being, a sense of worth from your own point of view. So in that way, I think the life is richer.
Correct.
I have had, let us say, in a short term, some opportunity to be rich comparatively, that is within my community. And so you can buy attention. So you go to a restaurant, not that I have been to a restaurant, but if you go to restaurants, you can pay for a high level of service for a short period of time. Or you can buy any service for a short period of time. But if you really serve people, you get that service free for a long period of time. So I think it is better to invest in spirituality and invest in being of use and of value to your community. And the riches or the rewards would be greater.
Right.
I take that benefit from our teacher. My teacher in Trinidad was Sister Himlata, still is Sister Himlata. And she didn't work, but she got everything free. If she needed to go somewhere, the best car that we could afford would be reserved for her. Or the best of everything would be reserved for her, although she didn't work. Yeah. But she brought values to people's lives, and so there was a high degree of appreciation.
Correct. And since the origin of this knowledge comes from India, and you shared your experience when you first came to India and you were here, how many trips you must have done to India till now?
Many trips. Once I came that first time, it might have been in 1982 or thereabouts, and then that next trip must have taken at least 5 years. Then after that, maybe the first 2 or 3 trips had long gaps. But eventually I was able to come every year. By that time too, the business has started to develop.
Yeah.
Although if you use spiritual principles, or let us say the principles of integrity and truth, the business develops slower, but on a good foundation, so it will last a long time.
Yeah, the base is strong.
Yes. So we did develop slower, but eventually once it got established, it was well established, and so I was able to come every year.
Oh, that's nice. So how is the experience different from, say, back at your home and versus to India? How is the experience different of the community and the center and the place?
Yeah, I mean, India is a place with a lot of humanity, you could say, a lot of soul. In the West, we are heavily influenced by America. Trinidad is 4 hours, 3.5 hours away from America. All our media came from America at that time. Now we are a bit more open. And so generally as a community, we wanted to be like Americans, to be rich, to have a nice car, to have nice things. Things were the main value. Although the local community at the time was not so, let us say, materialistic, but we were heavily influenced by America, and so we were moving towards a more materialistic type society. When we came into India, it was opposite, completely opposite. People were very charming and very people-oriented and very focused on you and what you are and what is your experiences. And that was really a very attractive thing for us. In India, I knew someone from the embassy in Trinidad and Tobago, and I was connected to that embassy for a while. And in the embassy community, because the embassies seem to have a community, lots of embassies in Delhi, and in that community, I saw people who would come from America and big countries to India, and big representatives of their country and their embassies. Many of them would come back after they have retired. They would come back to India to see their friends, to meet people. And that really amazed me, that what I considered at the time senior ambassadors would want to come from a great country like the US of A or Great Britain or any of these well-developed countries, would want to come back to India to meet the people and to meet friends. That really underlined for me the value of the Indian personality. The Indians are more community-oriented, family-oriented, people-oriented, as opposed to the USA, which is based on individual enjoyment, individual capacity, individual attainment, individual goals. In India, it seemed to be family or community.
All right. So to end this beautiful conversation, I would just ask you, how is your relationship like today with God?
It is a lot better than it used to be, but not where I want. I think my relationship with God is still a little bit too intellectual, and I would love it to be more personal, more person to person. Intellectually, I believe that I am a soul. I have complete faith in that. I cannot see any reason why I would not be anything but a soul. And seeing the way that the Brahma Kumaris have changed themselves and the world, God must exist, must. But yet, I don't feel a sense of His presence as you are present in front of me. And I feel, from what I've heard, that many Brahma Kumaris do feel God's presence as a person, as close to them as you are to me. And that is my goal. That is where I would like to be. But other than that, I have complete faith in myself as a soul, in God as a supreme soul, and in what He has taught us so far.
But these goals that you have, this is only which keeps us going towards it. This is only which keeps us motivated. So I'm sure. I mean, one day we'll talk again, and you'll be like, "Yeah, I've experienced God."
Well, at this point, I am quite committed to the path. It has been a great adventure for me so far. I mean, I think my life has become so enriched compared to my friends from school from that days. I mean, they have lived good lives. They have got married, had children, have their family. They have lived good lives. But still, I feel my life has been a wonderful adventure, and I'm really happy to be here and to be continuing.
Thank you for taking our time and sharing your beautiful experiences with us. It was a lovely conversation, and the time only permits us this much, otherwise we would have continued with it.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.